If you're struggling to show up for your music right now and you feel like there's just no point for you to make anything because you don't think anybody's going to hear it, you don't think it's going to make any money, you don't think it's going to get placed in any cool projects, and so why show up at all? If that's the way you feel right now, I would really encourage you to stick around for just a couple minutes because I want to share how I felt the same way earlier this year, how I worked through that feeling, and some of the incredible results that are beginning to happen as a result of me sticking things out. First of all, if you don't know anything about me or my backstory, I've been composing for pretty much my whole life. I did it since I was 7 years old, and I always loved writing music and telling cool stories. Like when I was young and a kid, like my imagination would just flourish. I could picture all these stories. I used to run home from school playing John Powell's Born Supremacy soundtrack. I was just obsessed with adventure and storytelling in music. And so I knew at a pretty young age that that's what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to tell great stories through music and share it with the world. I've been very fortunate through my career to have had the opportunity to do that. In 2022, all of the hard work that I was putting into networking and marketing and working on my music finally paid off, and I was able to work full-time in the industry. I was able to make a full living, getting all my money from composing, and I really, really enjoyed it for a time. The majority of the work that I was doing was for some higher profile clients. I wound up doing a lot of additional music, and I've been able to work with really cool clients like Disney and Dreamworks and Pokemon and Tencent games, all sorts of cool clients. And that's kind of the fun resume part of my journey. But what I really enjoyed was the storytelling components of being able to write cool music. However, what started to happen over time for me personally is as the pressure increased from clients, and as the pay began to stagnate, I wasn't able to command a higher rate for more of my experience, I started to feel some resentment and some frustration. Like I wanted creative control over my projects. I wanted to be able to communicate with the clients. I wanted to set boundaries so that I could have a good work-life balance. And I was just really struggling to create that under the confines of the jobs that I had. See, I was working in a lot of ways for other composers who were working for their clients, and so I didn't really have a lot of creative control as far as that went. I even had opportunities to work with agents at certain points in time, which I turned down because I felt like, for me, control was the most important thing, and being able to say yes and no to the projects I wanted to, choose my own rates, and just be able to do what I wanted to do was the most important thing for me in my career. So eventually, a couple months ago, I made a decision to take a little bit of a step back from doing client work to kind of reassess what I actually wanted and to get back on path to that dream that I had as a kid of just being able to do cool, innovative art with cool, innovative people. And so what I did was I decided that it would be time for me to make a personal project again, because eventually I decided, hey, like if I want to work with clients doing projects I love, these clients need to know what I love, what I want to do. They need to have a vision of what I want to accomplish with them. And I figured the best way to do that would be to write an album. So I initially had this idea, but for months I felt blocked in writing the album. I just struggled to show up to write music for myself, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why. It went on for months and months, and as the months went on, I felt worse and worse about myself and my own work ethic to be able to show up for my music. What I came to realize over time was there was a lot of blocks that was holding me back from writing music for myself. There was the block of wasted time, which I hear from people so often. Like, I'm going to spend all this time writing this album and it might not even do anything. So what's the point? Shouldn't I just wait for client work? I also had the block of content creation and social media. Like, I have to make this look cool and interesting for other people. And I hear this from composers too. Like, they don't want to have content creation get in the way of them executing their creative vision on their own terms. And so I had all these blocks that were getting in the way. And it was really tough. I struggled for a long time figuring out how to overcome those blocks. Eventually, what I decided the best thing to do was just to sit down and start. Usually how it goes. So I sat down on the first day after months of thinking about it, and I wrote something. It was like 2 or 3 measures of an orchestral thing. And it was okay. Didn't spark any interest or excitement for me. So I said, okay, whatever. I guess that's that. Don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here, but we'll move on. Then the next day, I wrote a little electronic piece, and I was like, okay, same thing. But it wasn't until the third day that I wrote a piece that really struck me. There was something about it that just made me want more. And it was a really simple idea, just a little ambient chord with strings. But something in that idea spoke to me. There was a spark inside of that idea. And even though I didn't know what it was, I knew I wanted to pursue it. And that was the first time I tapped into intuition in my art for a long time. See, when you have client projects, you tend to just write because you got to write, get something done. But the beauty of writing something for yourself is you can wait until there is that spark, that kind of classic inspiration to proceed. And so once I felt it, I said, I'm going to continue. I'm going to lean into this. Over time, that little idea became the overture for what is now nearly finished, my full dark fantasy album. And the ideas that came from that album simply came from following one spark at a time, one little interesting thing, waiting for new things to emerge, and building the discipline to show up on a regular basis to be able to make something. Not waiting to feel inspired to start, but waiting for inspiration to proceed and continue. And so this muscle was a muscle that I had to kind of build up from scratch again because it had been so long since I wrote music for myself. But now that I have, I can safely say it is by far the most fulfilling work I've ever done as a composer, writing this album. But that's not the end of the story, because some really interesting things have begun to happen as a result of me showing up and writing this album and sharing it with you all, with the world. See, I've been sharing this on YouTube, I've been sharing it on my newsletter, I've been telling people about it, and slowly but surely, even though I took a step back from client work, I've been having clients approach me with interest about the album, with interest about working together with me, with interest about licensing. I even just landed a licensing deal from a company, which we'll talk about in the future, because I was sharing this album and the journey. And so it's been this crazy paradoxical thing where as I've taken a step back from the extrinsic values like finding clients or making money or building an audience and focus on the intrinsic values, making something cool because I love it, because it's fun, and letting the passion lead, what I found is it's actually getting me the things that I wanted in the first place, which is cool clients. I've been able to charge more than I ever have. The clients themselves are amazing, and it's just so fulfilling to me. And the reason I'm sharing all of this with you is because I just want to point out that, like, if you have these goals, you get to these goals not by pursuing the goal, but by pursuing what feels good in pursuit of the goal. So you have to let that goal go. It's okay to know what you want in the future. Like if you want to do like a documentary or maybe write music for a trailer or something, that's great. But you also have to be able to let it go a little bit so you can really pay attention and tune yourself into what feels good right now, what feels fulfilling, what feels like you're showing up for yourself. Because once you can lean into those things, not only will you do the best work and feel creatively fulfilled right now, but they will be the things that lead you to that goal in the future. So as we move into 2025, I'm making a commitment to myself and to you all, and I think you're going to see this, to just do the things I'm deeply passionate about and to let my business and my career evolve naturally as an extension of the things I'm passionate about. I think this is the core to create a life that feels creatively fulfilling and to have a huge amount of success in it. So I hope that you will join me in this journey of making cool creative things simply because it's fun, not because you think it's got to do something for you, but just because it's fun. Follow your passion, follow your heart, make something because it inspires you, and watch as when you share that with the world, the abundance flows from it. That's all for this year. Hope you have a great one. Talk soon.